So Messiah chooses this one to bring into his parable. The most unneighborly one. The person said, who's my neighbor? And so he turns it all around. Samaritans didn't have it right. They didn't have theology right. They didn't have it. And yet Messiah is using this one to speak about a righteous person here. It's a rebuke to all the Pharisees and all the priests. It's a rebuke to all the believers today who pride themselves on having every doctrine right and having none of God's love, or judging every other ministry and every other believer. In the name of truth, they have the letter, yet light years removed from the heart of God. This is the heart of God. God could have corrected and said, hey, this is a Samaritan. He's got all these things wrong. Didn't say a word about it. I mean, that's important, but that's not what it's about. He says, this man more had the heart of God than the other ones, who might have had their theology right, but didn't have God right. Theology is important, but if you don't have the Spirit, if you don't have the compassion, if you don't have the heart of God, it can be deadly. So he had looked at him and he had mercy. Now, this is a man, and remember, you got to understand that this is like an enemy and an enemy looking at each other. It would be like if today, and I'm not saying all of them are, but in the land of Israel, or in that, you had a Muslim Arab radical in the West Bank. He sees an Israeli on the road wounded, and he has compassion on him and seeks to help him and gives to help him. That's what it would be like. You know that, and while speaking of that, you know that Israel actually, they take in people they take in their enemies and they bring them into hospitals. Even terrorists bring them to hospitals to heal them. You know, that's why there's a woman named Bridget Gabriel. That's how she came really to the Lord, and she was raised to hate Jewish people. She was brought to an Israeli hospital to be helped by the Israelis. So here's the natural reaction. You see your enemy. Sometimes you see, some of you hope that your enemy, not only you saw your enemy on the floor, you might not help the same way, but you might even be thinking, hey, it'd be great if my enemy gets humbled and gets fallen like that. But here it is, this enemy has compassion. He came to him, verse 34. He bandaged up his wounds. He poured oil on him, wine on him, put him in his own animal, and brought him to an inn and took care of him. Now, he didn't have to do any of that, and nobody would know it. He would have just walked away. This guy's own brothers and own ministers walked by, but this one who was not a brother, not a minister, went by and he put all his compassion upon him. Now, any of these things would have been a wonderful thing to do, but on top of it, it says he bandaged him up. Now think about that. Where did he get the bandage? Did he have a Samaritan first aid kit? Where did he get that from? I mean, they didn't have first, we don't walk around with first aid kits, and he didn't either. So where did he get it? He used his own clothes. That's how he bandaged him. He used his own clothes. And back then, you didn't have the clothes we have today. You've got clothes for every day of the week and probably maybe for every day of the month. But you've got somewhere in that formula. They didn't. Your spring wardrobe was the same pretty much as your summer wardrobe and your winter wardrobe, and all that was the same. You might have had one or two garments. So to take that away and put blood around it and bandage him up, we often don't think about giving away the clothes we have. And where we got what we have, and yet here he's giving away everything to somebody in need. A pastor in communist Europe, and it's a true occurrence, he got some beautiful materials for a suit. Back then, you couldn't get that in those places. That's like America, you couldn't get it. But I think they got it from America, this beautiful material, and there was somebody, I believe in the congregation, who put together a beautiful suit for him. Now, it was a rarity to have that. Now, the pastor had a son and told his son a story of a man who went to heaven. And the people there were feasting on food and wonderful food, 4-course meals, gourmet food, all they could eat. And the man sits down at the table and joins them, and he gets a plate, and it's a plate of crumbs. He goes to another table, sits down, they give him a plate of rotten cheese. He goes to another table with a plate, he gets a plate of stale bread. Finally, he can't take it anymore. He's furious. He goes up to the angel and says, how come everybody's eating gourmet food, the best food, all they can eat, and I get crumbs and bad cheese and stale bread? The angel told him, said, it's the way it is here. The people here receive what they gave on earth to the needy. In your life, you only gave crumbs and stale bread and leftovers. That's what you get here. Now, it wasn't long after that a poor man came to the pastor's house and asked for help. And he didn't have much clothes. The pastor took out his jackets, said, I'll give a jacket to him, suit jacket. And so he showed it. He said, I'll let you make the decision. He goes to his son, which one should we give? And one of the jackets was the one of the expensive material. And another was a plain older jacket, which he thought of giving. He asked the son, which jacket should we give? The son answered, Dad, give him the jacket you want to wear in heaven.
To find out how you can receive more of Jonathan's teachings, to receive special free gifts, or get in touch, go to hopeoftheworld.org or call toll-free 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's hopeoftheworld.org or call 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's 1-800-937-4821. You can also get more at Jonathan Cahn's Facebook page or write us direct at Hope of the World, Box 1111, Lodi, New Jersey 07644, USA.